The Denver Broncos miss out on potential target Sam Darnold in NFL free agency. Does this mean that they're all in on a rookie quarterback? We'll take a look at that and much more on today's brand new episode, Locked On Broncos.
You are Locked On Broncos, your daily Denver Broncos podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Broncos Country? Welcome into a brand new episode, Locked On Broncos, your daily Denver Broncos podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much to everybody in Broncos Country for tuning in. All the everydayers out there who make us your first listen of the day every single day. We appreciate you so much. Just a reminder, you can get this show for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe or that follow button down below so you never miss out on what's going on with your favorite team every single day, all year long, including bonus episodes like this one, because the Broncos are in a lot of different things. There's a lot of moves going on right now in NFL free agency. I'm Cody Roark, Broncos reporter from Mile High Sports, joined alongside by Sayre Bedinger, site expert, predominantlyorange.com. Sayre, the Broncos, obviously there were some rumblings going into the NFL free agency period that they would have some potential interest in some players on the free agency market. A couple of names we've talked about. One of them, probably the biggest one that had like a legitimate tie to maybe going to Denver, was going to be Sam Darnold. He decides to go to the Minnesota Vikings, and now that leaves the Broncos with some options here. There are some veterans available that we'll obviously discuss here in today's episode show, but it really kind of sets the table that Denver may be focused on a rookie in this year's NFL draft. We're going to highlight all that stuff and all that action here in today's episode of the show. But overnight, no Darnold. Darnold going to Minnesota.
And maybe we can finally put to bed the speculation of Sam Darnold ever coming to the Denver Broncos, Cody. It dates all the way back to 2018. And then when he was struggling with the Jets, we think maybe the Broncos will trade for him. And then last offseason, we talked about the potential of acquiring him. And now this offseason, sounds like they even had an offer on the table for him, Cody, according to a couple of different reports there. So I think that definitely the Broncos are interested in bringing in a quarterback to raise the floor of that room. Now, people may wonder, does Sam Darnold really do that? I think we've discussed this in the past. It's worth mentioning again. Sean Payton has had the most success in the NFL with reclamation projects or kind of like retread quarterbacks dating back to Drew Brees, who was unwanted by the Chargers. They drafted Phillip Rivers 3 years prior to eventually letting Brees go in free agency. And then obviously Sean Payton has had guys like Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, those guys, former first-round picks, very talented, cast away by the team that drafted them. And I think that that's one of the reasons why you look at a Sam Darnold type. And that's one of the reasons why you look at other former first-round guys that are out there. Obviously now, though, the quarterback market has thinned out substantially. With Sam Darnold going to the Vikings, Cody, we could mention any number of names from the top to the bottom of this year's free agency class. Everybody's getting signed by every team except the Denver Broncos. Teams are filling out their quarterback depth charts. Jameis Winston is one of the options that we've talked about in the past. He just signed with the Cleveland Browns before you and I hit record on this episode. Tyrod Taylor, he's not out there. Anybody that you could basically think of is no longer available. Jacoby Brissett, he's a Patriot. Kirk Cousins, a Falcon. Baker Mayfield, he's a Buccaneer. Marcus Mariota, he's with the Commanders. Every team is filling out their roster and their quarterback depth chart. The Broncos are kind of letting it come to them. So the free agency frenzy it's not just been with the running back position and the big money players all around the league. The quarterback situation after that Kirk Cousins domino fell has really all gotten to the point to where everybody's now like, all right, Broncos, your move.
Well, and we're waiting to see, are they going to make a move here in free agency? There are some veteran options available. You mentioned Marcus Mariota to the Commanders. Now that obviously prompted questions over there. Okay, well, does this mean that, a guy like Sam Howell, is he going to be on the trade market? Is he a guy? I've seen Broncos fans saying, hey, Denver should trade for him. And look, there's some other trade options. I know right now at this point, you've even posted on social media that Denver should just see what the Chicago Bears want for Justin Fields. I feel like you and I are going to differ on this. I understand maybe the thought process of trading for a guy, but are you sure that guy can be something here in Denver? Is a Sam Howell going to be anything in Denver? Maybe, maybe not. Justin Fields, maybe not, right? But is that the path that Denver should take? I'm not sure that's the case. I will tell you this, the one player that I would absolutely say no to, I would be disgusted. I might vomit all over my desk here if that were the case. If the Broncos signed Ryan Tannehill, I don't know what I would do, Sayre. I think that would be a horrible move for the franchise. And it's not something that's necessarily going to push the needle. I mean, it makes Denver very limited, so to speak. We went from unlimited to limited. I wouldn't like that move here for the Broncos. But tell me a little bit in your thought process here as to why you're all in on a Justin Fields trade or maybe even a Sam Howell trade.
First of all, I think with the Justin Fields situation, it's kind of like the Bears have painted themselves into this corner to where you might be able to get the best possible value. I mean, we saw Mac Jones go to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 6th-round draft pick, right? And Mac Jones has arguably done more as a starting quarterback in the NFL than Justin Fields. Like, he made the Pro Bowl as a rookie. And so I think that with Justin Fields, you're looking at maybe the Bears like miscalculated his value. And maybe now, like, to do right by the player, they've got to get him to that situation. I wrote an article on Predominantly Orange, Cody, where I said, like, the Bears should be standing outside George Payton and Sean Payton's office with the boombox raised high and be like, please make a trade with us. Don't you forget about me. Like, please make a trade for Justin Fields, because like we've now screwed this player over and we need to get him to a situation where he may actually be able to play in 2024. Like, there's no guarantee picking 12th overall that the Broncos are going to be able to draft the quarterback that they want, or that they're going to be able to trade up for the quarterback that they want to draft. And you don't think Justin Fields could beat out Jarrett Stidham for a year? I mean, I know that there's questions like, well, why would you trade Russell Wilson only to go to a Justin Fields type who also excels off script? And it's like the off script stuff with Justin Fields is so much more dynamic than with Russell Wilson. Russell was 34, 35 years old, not looking like his, 23, 24-year-old self, like with the Seattle Seahawks, when that dynamic presence as a runner was so effective in extending drives. Justin Fields did a lot of really good things for the Bears this past year, Cody. I know not necessarily being that, prototypical pocket passer that I think Sean Payton thinks, hey, we got to win from the pocket in today's NFL. But look, I could sell myself on Fields for the price of a 5th or 6th round pick and $3 million, as opposed to Ryan Tannehill for anything at all. Mason Rudolph is just basically a part 2 of Jarrett Stidham. Why would you do that to yourself? I don't understand where the Broncos would go from here. If not, like, take the highest upside shot. I would rather Zach Wilson than somebody like Mason Rudolph or Ryan Tannehill. Like, trade a late round pick for somebody who was drafted high. Stick with your MO, Sean Payton, and go after a reclamation project. Not to say this guy's our quarterback of the future, bar none. Take a shot on a player. Quarterbacks are currency. Sam Darnold just got a $5.5 million raise by spending a year with Kyle Shanahan. He literally did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. And he played a couple of decent preseason games. Justin Fields should be looking at a situation like that and say, wow, maybe I go get with Sean Payton for a year and it extends my value. He's going to be a free agent in 2025. The Broncos could potentially re-sign him if he does well. He could get a good free agent deal if the perception on him is different. I just feel like that's a situation where the Broncos are kind of out of options. Justin Fields is kind of out of options. It might just be like the best deal that both can make.
At this point, right, you look at the free agency dominoes. I'm sure as this gets published, there's going to be more quarterback free agency signings that do happen here on the Locked On Broncos podcast. But maybe it doesn't eliminate all their options, right? Because of this domino effect of guys falling, could this mean that the Denver Broncos might be all in on a rookie quarterback in this year's NFL draft? We're going to break that down here on today's brand new episode, Locked On Broncos. Today's Locked On Broncos podcast is brought to you by our friends over there at FanDuel Sportsbook. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you sign up as a brand new customer here today, you put $5 on anything inside FanDuel Sportsbook, and that bet wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. And you can use that for obviously point spreads, money lines, and you can even pick who's going to win it all in the big tournament. FanDuel Sportsbook is the place where you can get in on all the action on all your favorite sports, especially here as we're in the madness of what is the month of March. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. A lot of us spend our lives wishing that we had more time to spend with family members, more time just to find balance between work and life. And sometimes it's hard to fit everything that you need to do into the time that you have, but we can find ways to maximize our time and we can get the tools necessary that can help us out of a rough spot here. The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and to make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so that you can do more of it. I've utilized BetterHelp therapy online in the past, and the thing that I found very convenient to me, I could do it from the comfort of my own home. If I'm traveling, I can do it on my laptop in my hotel room. And more importantly, I can address some of the things that I deal with. As a human being, I get on camera every single day. And there are some days I'm in a great mood. Everything's going great, right? But at times, sometimes I put a mask on when I jump on camera and I give off this energy like, hey, everything's great. But hey, I struggle too. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with depression at times. But BetterHelp has helped me find ways to overcome some of that by giving me the tools that I need to be able to identify when I need help and when I need a break and how to use that to put myself in a better situation. And they can do the same thing for you. I've had listeners of Locked On Broncos tell me that they've signed up for BetterHelp and that it's been a tremendous benefit from them. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Process of elimination would tell us that the Denver Broncos are almost 100% guaranteed to be drafting a quarterback next month. What has free agency told us and revealed about the Broncos quarterback plans? Well, the writing may be on the wall. Cody and I, we're going to discuss that here on today's episode, Locked On Broncos. I want to thank you for each and every one of you who rock with us every single day, especially during the offseason. There's always going to be coverage of every single move this team makes on this show. And we want to thank you for joining us along this journey. It's going to be twists and turns, right? It's the roller coaster that is the Denver Broncos every single offseason. And you know that Locked On Broncos, we're going to have you covered with every single move this team makes, especially regarding the quarterback position. We're breaking it all down. And today, Cody, I think we have to address this, the fact that the quarterback, it's not even really the carousel this offseason, is it? It's almost a game of musical chairs. And I think with the Broncos, you can look at this game of musical chairs like they seem to be the one team that's left standing out of every team, I think, in the entire NFL that needs to make a quarterback move. It looks like the Broncos may be the only ones that have yet to do something. This, to me, indicates that they are pushing all the chips into the center of the NFL draft. What do you say?
I think that's what they should be doing anyways. Now, would kind of piggyback off that point we talked about last segment, the interest in Sam Darnold. Apparently, the Broncos, they were interested in making a potential offer, but they didn't actually make an offer because of the market. Obviously, the $10 million that he's going to be making in Minnesota. And then you factor in Darnold probably thinks that's a better environment situation, right? But what is the right environment for a quarterback here in Denver? Well, I think maybe for a young guy, it could be the most ideal situation, and here's why. As the time that we're sitting down doing this episode, Cortland Sutton is on the roster. Tim Patrick's on the roster. You have a young guy, Marvin Mims, who's talented. You got Brandon Johnson, who stepped up in a little bit of a big way last season for Denver. You do have Javonte Williams coming back into the mix here, and you have a pretty solid offensive line with some questions at who's going to be the center. We talked about that as well. It could be Alex Forsythe. You'll get that in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Broncos. But for a young quarterback, is this the perfect opportunity for Sean Payton to kind of build his offense back into what he originally envisioned, right? And Drew Brees went on Super Bowl Radio Row and was talking about Sean's offense and Russ and said it wasn't necessarily what Sean's offense really was, right? Sean tailored part of his offense to do things that Russell Wilson was really good at, but it got rid of some of the things that Sean really wanted to do himself. And that's what a good coach does. I think you adapt it to what your players can do. Did he do it fully? We can debate that all day long here. But for a rookie quarterback, you have a chance now to build the foundation. Obviously, at the University of Oregon, Bo Nix is having his pro day. I'm sure that the Broncos are in attendance for that. They're monitoring the quarterbacks in this year's NFL draft. And as you start to see some of the dominoes fall in NFL free agency of teams going out there and getting quarterbacks, to me, it says, well, now Denver's got an opportunity. They could just swap with a team that just signed a quarterback in free agency if they wanted to, without necessarily having to give up too much capital, or a quarterback can fall to them at number 12. I think that, to me, opens up the table for the Broncos to potentially get their guy. Are they going to be in the market for a Caleb Williams or a Drake May? Highly doubt it. Unlikely, right? I think the more realistic options that we've heard discussed be the Bo Nixes and the J.J. McCarthy's. But regardless, I think this is the path that the Broncos should go.
It definitely is, Cody. I 100% agree on that because look, like the Broncos, the one thing they have to focus on right now is not letting their intentions be known. They need to make sure that nobody knows what if they're going to the draft, they need to let out, maybe they need to let some stuff out of the building saying like, oh, the Broncos are interested in trading up for Jaden Daniels or Drake May, or maybe they need to say the Broncos are interested in trading back. They want to take a different position entirely. Like if you're not going to get into the free agent market, now you've got to do some misinformation when it comes to hiding your true intentions about who you really want at QB1 in this draft. Like we've seen stuff from certain reporters saying the Broncos are enamored with JJ McCarthy. You think the Broncos are going to sit out of free agency and telegraph their interest in JJ McCarthy? Maybe a little reverse psychology, Cody. Maybe they're trying to make people think, wait, maybe they don't want JJ McCarthy. Maybe that's why that information is out there. I mean, that's what the Broncos have to do, though. They have to make it seem like for every other team in the league that's interested in drafting a QB, the Broncos have to make it seem like they could be in on anybody at this point in the NFL draft. That's the goal now, is to make sure that you get your guy and that you don't telegraph your interest. Because look, you missed out on free agency. The team has increased season ticket prices, as you and I have discussed. How are you going to sell Jarrett Stidham as day one QB of 2024? And we say that with all due respect to Jarrett. Like, we know he's worked hard to get to this point in the league and things like that. But look, he started just a handful of games in 5 NFL seasons. We need to see this team take a clear direction toward the future and set this roster up for some type of success in 2024, even if it is with a rookie at the quarterback spot.
Broncos Country, we want to hear from you. Do you think this is the best path forward here for the Broncos as they get ready for Sean Payton's second season, running the team as the head coach? Is it rookie or bust here after we've seen a run on quarterbacks in NFL free agency? That's something that Sayre and I want to know. If you're watching or listening to Locked On Broncos, make sure you let us know wherever you get your podcast or available on YouTube. But this will wrap up today's bonus episode of Locked On Broncos. For your viewing pleasure, what you can expect on tomorrow's episode of the show: how does the Russell Wilson signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers impact the Broncos? They have a matchup next season. Plus, Lloyd Cushenberry departed for the Tennessee Titans. How does that impact the outlook at the center position? You get all that and much more on tomorrow's brand new episode, Locked On Broncos.